Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer from English with Jennifer. Is there someone you look up to? Is there someone you admire? It's easy to admire big names in history, like Amelia Earhart, the American aviator. But how about everyday people? People you know? One person who inspires me is my 93-year-old cousin, Gina. She lives in my home state of Pennsylvania, and I can only hope to live to 93 and have her energy and mental health. Gina's mother and my grandmother were sisters. That makes Gina and my mother first cousins, and Gina's daughter and I are second cousins. If that's too much to grasp at this moment, you can watch my other lesson on extended family. Right now we're going to focus on infinitives, and my amazing cousin Gina will help by supplying us with plenty of examples. Let's get started. An infinitive is a verb form. It uses to plus the base verb. Take a look at these sentences. It's easy to admire big names in history. I look up to my cousin Gina. I can only hope to live to 93. How many infinitives do you see? There are two: to admire, to live. I'm actually using infinitive phrases, infinitives plus other words. To admire big names in history. To live to 93. The phrase to 93 is a prepositional phrase, a preposition plus an object. Look up to is a phrasal verb. Look is the verb, up to are the particles. Look up to whom? Be careful not to confuse prepositions and particles with infinitives. They all use the word to, but for different purposes. Let's try the same task, but with different sentences. Can you identify the infinitives? Here are the infinitives. Again, there are two: to age, to hear. How are these infinitives or infinitive phrases being used? Sentence 1 uses a linking verb, is, and the infinitive follows. That means the sentence pattern is subject, verb, complement. To age is a subject complement. The alternative is to age with difficulty. The alternative is to age with a bad attitude. My hope is to live as long and as well as Gina. Subject complements define the subject. What is the alternative? What is your hope? The infinitives, the subject complements, answer those questions. In sentence 3, we have the transitive verb like, and the infinitive follows. Like what? That means the sentence pattern is subject, verb, object. To hear is the object of the verb. What would you like to do? To hear. I hope you recognize that in sentence 2, we had a preposition followed by a gerund, not an infinitive. Gerunds end in ing. Reaction to what? Reaction to hearing. Hearing, the gerund, is the object of the preposition to. There are different noun plus preposition combinations. I present some of them in my playlist on prepositions. If you have familiarity with collocations that use to. You won't confuse prepositions with infinitives. The noun plus preposition to collocations include a reaction to something, an alternative to something, the key to something. There are also adjective plus preposition combinations. Become familiar with them and you won't confuse prepositions with infinitives. Examples include be dedicated to someone or something, be opposed to something, be related to someone or something. Let's see if you can spot the difference between verb plus preposition combinations and infinitives. Some people may not want to confess to wearing hand-me-downs, but I'm okay with that. I have some wonderful pieces of clothing from my cousin Gina. Where's the infinitive? To confess. And the prepositional phrase with to wearing. Gina admits to being sad sometimes, but she's always able to regain her optimism. Again, find the infinitive and find a combination with to plus a gerund. Here's the infinitive, to regain. And the prepositional phrase, to being. So we've learned not to confuse infinitives with prepositions, and we've seen infinitives used as subject complements and direct objects. What other uses are there? Look again at this sentence. She's always able to regain her optimism. Able is an adjective. Many adjectives combine with infinitives. Infinitives can be adjective complements. They define the adjective.
Gina isn't afraid to speak her mind. Gina is physically active, but she's careful not to fall. Anyone who meets my cousin is certain to receive a friendly greeting. It's easy to talk to Gina about almost anything. Gina is likely to be famous after this video. I'm proud to tell you that Gina is a talented musician. I'm lucky to know her. I'm unable to visit her often. I'm willing to travel to see her and my other cousins. Look back at this example and you'll see a negative infinitive.
She's careful not to fall.
Use not before an infinitive to make it negative.
How would you complete these sentences with negative infinitives? I think a good way to stay healthy is not to isolate yourself. We need to stay connected. And I think a wise choice is not to overeat. My cousin Gina stays connected. She finds time to take walks and she greets people along the way. She also knows it's important to keep her mind active, so she's been taking organ lessons. She already plays the accordion, but now she's learning to play the organ. Find time to take walks. This is an example of a noun followed by an infinitive. Here are other nouns that are followed by infinitives. The nouns appear in different positions within the sentence, but the infinitives always complete the meaning of the noun that they follow.
Gina has the ability to see the positive side. I'm happy that I've had the chance to play the accordion with Gina. Her conscious choice to stay active keeps her mind sharp. My desire to follow her example is genuine. There's always an opportunity to learn from our elders.
Gina has always had a good memory. In fact, she plays most songs from memory. In contrast, I need to read music. I have trouble memorizing. For Gina, it's easy to memorize. Let's pause for a moment and think about how my last sentence could be reworded. For Gina, it's easy to memorize. I could place for Gina after the adjective. It's easy for Gina to memorize. What's the true subject of the sentence? It's not it. It is a placeholder. I could say, to memorize is easy for Gina, but it doesn't sound like everyday English, does it? That's because infinitives can be subjects, but then the sentence sounds quite formal. A more common pattern is to put it at the front of the sentence and then have an infinitive follow an adjective. It's easy for Gina to play without reading music. It's fun to spend time with my cousin. It's nice to catch up with her over the phone. How would you finish these sentences? Put your answers in the comments. To recap so far, we've seen how infinitives can be subjects, direct objects, and subject complements following a linking verb. We've also seen how infinitives can follow nouns and adjectives, which are other ways infinitives function as complements. Infinitives are also used in combination with to and enough. Remember how I talked about first and second cousins? Gina, by the way, is my first cousin once removed. Like I said, if that's too much to grasp at this moment, you can watch my other lesson on extended family. You'll remember that to has a negative meaning. There's more than you want, and that's a problem. Too much information to grasp. Too confusing to understand. Enough is positive. The amount or degree is all right. Clear enough to understand. So the infinitives complete the meaning of these phrases with to and enough. Isn't it amazing how many ways we use infinitives? Well, if you've watched my lesson on noun clauses, you'll know that we can reduce or shorten embedded questions with the help of infinitives if they express the meaning of should or could. Gina and my grandfather taught me how to play a couple of songs on the accordion. Gina always knows where to go to buy good clothes on sale. Here's a final use of infinitives. I'm willing to travel 500 miles to see Gina and her daughter, my second cousin Diane. So we already talked about adjective plus infinitive combinations, like willing to travel. The other infinitive is to see. I'm explaining why I'm willing to travel. What would be the purpose of traveling? To see Gina and my second cousin Diane. What I'm really saying is that I'm willing to travel in order to see my cousins. This is an example of an infinitive of purpose. We use in order to when we explain a reason. We can use the full form in order to visit, or simply to visit, the infinitive, and the purpose is understood. Complete my sentences with infinitives of purpose. At some point, you may wonder how to choose between infinitives and gerunds, because they both can be used as subjects, direct objects, and complements. Well, remember that gerunds are more common as subjects. And as you've seen, infinitives can express a purpose. And in general, infinitives can express intention. My dream is to travel around the world. My hope is to learn another language. And as mentioned, there are many combinations with infinitives. This is how vocabulary and grammar work together. You need to know, for example, that the noun and verb promise combine with an infinitive. I made a promise to visit again soon. I promise to visit soon. Some verbs can take an infinitive or a gerund as the object, and it doesn't make a difference in meaning. Gina continues to play her accordion. Gina continues playing her accordion. She started to take organ lessons. She started taking organ lessons.
Other verbs in this category are begin, can't stand, like, love, hate, prefer. However, other verbs can be followed by either a gerund or an infinitive, and there is a difference in meaning. Here's an example. I'll try to visit them this summer. This means I'll attempt to visit, but maybe it won't work out. Have you ever tried polka dancing? It's fun. I'm talking about experiencing something so that you can decide if you like it or not.
Choose a gerund or an infinitive to complete the sentence.
One, I appreciate having someone like Gina to talk to. 2. Gina refuses to slow down. 3. I miss playing the accordion with her.
For more practice, you can watch my other lessons on gerunds and infinitives. I'll put the links in the video description. Okay, so we've covered different uses of infinitives: subjects, direct objects, complements, and infinitives of purpose. But we've only talked about two forms, infinitives and negative infinitives. There are other forms. There's a progressive form. Some call it a continuous infinitive. It uses the ending ing. Just know that to be plus a present participle expresses an unfinished action or an action in progress. Gina is lucky to be driving at her age. She's a good driver. Help me finish the rest of these sentences. She's happy to be living independently. She appears to be doing well for 93.5. I never expect her to be sleeping when I call. She's usually awake and active or not home. If you've watched my lesson on gerunds, you'll know that we have passive and perfect gerunds. Well, guess what? We have passive and perfect forms of infinitives. It's wonderful to be blessed with good genes. Gina's mother, my great aunt, also lived a long life. The passive form of an infinitive is to be plus the past participle. Form passive infinitives with me.
It's not unusual for Gina to be invited to play somewhere in town. What more needs to be said?
It's true that Gina gets invited to perform sometimes. Isn't that great? Quite a number of people are lucky to have heard her play live. They are lucky because at some point in the past they heard her play live. The perfect infinitive, or past infinitive, uses to have plus the past participle, and it refers to an earlier point in time, earlier than the main verb. Truthfully, we don't often use this perfect form, this past form, but I want you to be able to recognize it and understand it. Here's a final quiz to see what you remember and if you're familiar with other rules concerning infinitives.
1. Which phrases have infinitives? Two. Where's the negative infinitive? 3. Where's the passive infinitive? 4. Where's the perfect infinitive, meaning the past form? 5. Where's the infinitive of purpose? 6. Which sentence sounds more natural? 'Neither sentence is really wrong, but B sounds more natural to my ears. You don't have to repeat to when we create a pair or a list of infinitives. 7. Which sentence is correct? 'Both are correct. The verb help allows us to use the infinitive or the base verb. The base verb is what some would call a bare infinitive because it doesn't have to. 8. Which sentence is correct? 'I believe both are acceptable. We normally don't split an infinitive in formal English and particularly in writing, but it's more acceptable to do this in everyday English. Sentence A is what you'd likely hear in spoken English. B is a bit more formal.
We'll end here. That's all for now, but I hope to see you again soon. Please like and share the video if you found the lesson useful. As always, thanks for watching and happy studies.
Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Why not join me on Patreon? And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube.